Good morning, Pack Nation. This is Coach JT with Pack Baseball Softball Academy coming to you live this morning with a special guest, Coach Tyler Fitzgerald. And I'll let him kind of talk about where he's at, what he's doing, and where he's coming from. But I just wanted to let you know I'm super excited about this segment. And Coach is going to bring a lot of value to this community. So, with that, Coach, let's why don't you introduce yourself to the community?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me today, JT.
Uh,
Coach Tyler Fitzgerald. I'm the new head baseball coach at Dean College here in Franklin, Massachusetts. We're a Division III program, private school, about 40 minutes outside of Boston. I got the head coaching job here a couple days before move-in day in September. It was kind of a fire drill getting going and making the change this summer. Um, Prior to that, I was at UMass Lowell. I was the pitching coach there under Coach Nick Barisi for a year. I was at Southern New Hampshire the year prior to that under Coach Shank. We had a really good run there, went to a College World Series at the D2 level. And I spent 2 years at my alma mater, Keene State College, under Coach Justin Blood, and took over a program that was scuffling for a little bit and brought in a pretty big freshman class that ended up hitting on a lot of guys and was a piece of helping bring in some of the right players and people to that program to help turn it around. And, straight out of college, I had an opportunity to work in the San Francisco Giants organization. And so been at every level of baseball from pro ball, D1, D2, D3. And I taken a piece of everything I learned at every stop I'd been at, and had a really good chance to become a head coach at the D3 level, which is something I always wanted to do. And it was a great fit for me in my career and a place I'm really happy to be at. And it's been a great couple months so far getting started.
yeah, starting right before moving day. We talked about that when we were on the phone the other day, and that could be challenging.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a challenge, but being a first year head coach, I know no other way. And it's all the same to me, so it's no surprise.
Nice. So with you coming in so late in the game, did you have a hand at all in the recruiting process for the guys that you're working with right now?
No, so the team that we have now is the team that we inherited. And we were able to bring in one transfer for the spring. So the team we got now is the team that's been here for the past couple of years.
Nice, nice. So, talk to us a little bit about your background, a little bit more. I know you said you worked in the San Francisco Giants organization. Tell us a little bit about that, your experience, and what you did for them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start a little bit with my playing career. I was a Division III pitcher at Keene State where I ended up coaching, and I was nice enough to get a jersey on a team that was way better than my playing career at Southern New Hampshire. Scott Loazzo was nice enough to let me kick around for a year there. Um, but it was a real formative experience having to finish out my career at Southern New Hampshire and just being around winning at a super high level where, the standard was go to the World Series and have a chance to win a national championship or it wasn't a good year. And just seeing that for the first time was really special to me. And from there, I had the opportunity to get a job in the San Francisco Giants organization. I thought working in pro ball was everything I wanted. I worked super hard to meet the right people, build a resume to get there. And I love my time and the people I met there. It was a similar situation to Southern New Hampshire where it's high pressure, and if you don't do your job, they're just going to find someone else to do it. Because it's everyone wants to work. Well, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people think working at in pro ball is what the end goal is, and for me, I thought it was, but I really realized I missed impacting 18 to 22-year-olds lives in the college setting and being a part of their um, most transformational years, and becoming a man. So I learned a lot with the Giants. I worked in player development. I was a video and tech coordinator, so guys coming down for rehab assignments, rookie ball guys that are up and down between rookie ball and high A for the most part. Um, you're there setting up cameras, tagging the games, sitting in the stands, and you're able to be a part of some pretty cool meetings where you get to be alongside like Matt Daniels, who is big at Driveline. Like I didn't get to know him super well, but I knew him. He didn't know me. One of those situations where I'm standing next to him in a bullpen, and it's a really, really cool thing for a young kid right out of college to be around some really special people.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, pretty special experience. So you talked a little bit in there about going into New Hampshire where you were exposed to a real winning culture. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you saw there, what you learned there, what you took from there?
Yeah, I think like the biggest it was a culture shock. So when I got to Southern New Hampshire, it was in 2021. So my senior year at Keene State was in 2020. So obviously that got halted with COVID. Um, and that was a year I was coming off of Tommy John. So I hadn't really played in 2 years when I got to Southern New Hampshire. And getting to Southern New Hampshire, the speed of the game was like catch play is so much faster. The runners are just so much faster. Hitters are way more physical. You get away with less pitches. I felt like you could get away with an 0 slider, middle, and sometimes guys will take it at some levels of D3 baseball. Some will definitely still deposit those. But at SNU, I realized man, I got to be a little bit more fine with some misses on the mound. The standard in practice was really high. Like practice was hard. Players were separated by pretty thin margin. So I felt like you had to be perfect all the time to have a chance to be on the field and be in those big games. There were a lot of guys that were able to do it, and there were some guys that couldn't. But I think what they did such a good job of, and Scott Loazzo and Pat Austin and John Friday when I played there, and played under those people, where they got the most out of you, and they had a really good way of pushing you to just be better baseball players, be better men, and just I took it as an opportunity to raise my standards just on and off the field. So I'm really grateful for having the chance to play there. And on the field, I didn't feel like I contributed a lot. I'll say at all. But I learned a lot about finding roles. I think we're in the era where there's tons of guys transferring around and searching for that perfect role, but I had a perfect school for me, and I kind of created my own role. Like I wanted to be perfect and helping them out during IO, during games. I wanted to be perfect about trying to find tendencies on the bench, looking at other pitchers and trying to look for back picks. Like I just wanted to find a way to contribute to wins, even though I wasn't going to be on the field. So it was a very contagious culture of wanting to be better and just always wanting to find a way to just be the best version of yourself.
Wow, you said some good things in there. And one of the things I'd like to expand on a little bit is you talk about raising your standards. And this is sort of, I talk about this a lot with our kids, is there's sort of this internal thermometer or this internal gauge, and you've been working on that your entire life. And as you develop in skills and confidence and mentality, that gauge sort of goes up. It sets a little higher and a little higher. And then when you're exposed to either really traumatic and life-changing events or something like you where you went, that could be a pretty traumatic and life-changing event, going from a school like you were playing at or not playing for 2 years, and then going to a school that is competing at the highest level in their division and have a much higher standard and expectation. What did that do for you as a player and now as a coach?
Well, I think I knew pretty early on, I wasn't gonna play there, just being able to read the room. And I was a sidearm pitcher that was 80 to 83, and we had some guys that were more often than not upper 80s, low 90s, spinning some really good breaking balls. And I just wasn't gonna play. So I really tried to soak it in as a coach, knowing I wanted to get into that. And I think some of the best coaches are also the best thieves, and they're really good about noticing what good programs do that they're around and kind of creating your perfect recipe. So as a player there, I really started to figure out how Coach Loazo and Pat Austin would make practice competitive, make practice hard. Um, just I guess the standard was just like you make every play. Like the standards you make every play. Like if you make a couple errors and you're a pitcher on the mound, like you're probably not going to play. So it it really raised your bar of like not losing focus rep to rep. Like there was no such thing as like let me get one more. It was pretty reverse of that. It's like you make the play in front of you. Like you don't necessarily get one more. So um, it helped me coach of bringing a winning culture there and trying to just implement it in every stop that I've been at. Um, and it's not easy, and it's a lot easier said than done. But it starts with the coaches, and it starts with bringing that expectation to your players, and you hope that they're able to live up to it.
That's awesome. And with all of that background and with all of that knowledge as a coach, as you're starting to get into recruiting for your team now, it is your team now. What are you looking for? Are you looking at high school kids? Are you looking at transfers? Is it a combination? And what are you looking for in those players to bring them into your culture?
Well, I think at Dean, we're a school that doesn't have grad school, so we're definitely going to be a school built on the high school player. Um, there is kind of a niche here with junior college. The school does have junior college roots, so some of the it is pretty transfer friendly for those guys. Um, we'll always explore the transfer portal, but what I've learned at my Division 3 stops were at Keene State, like prior to this as a coach, is it's in the transfer portal right now to land guys, and I think the best value you can get is go to get the best high school players possible, um, and be willing to develop. Like I think it's really tough to get a finished product at this level, and I at other levels too, for that matter. But you have to be really good at developing. Um, on the mound, I mean, we want guys that are projectable with their arm action, projectable with just how they move on the mound, and hard breaking balls. I think guys that throw hard breaking balls, typically there's more in that fastball. In the field, like we just want athletes. Like we're going to be a team that we're going to have a handful of shortstops come in every single class, and only one of them is going to play shortstop. So chances are that's going to become our third baseman, second baseman, outfield, and I think recruiting up the middle stays pretty consistent for us here. Like we like to recruit athletes that can play multiple positions. Um, and I also think we have a great coaching staff here in developing every position on the field. Like we have a really strong uh, core of coaches that develop the swing and work with our offense. I still work with the pitchers. I don't know if I'm willing to really give up working with the pitching staff quite yet. Haven't been a pitching coach everywhere. Um, but yeah, I just think versatile athletes that project out pretty well, and guys that remind me of other players that I've recruited that have panned out pretty well, or recruited and missed on that ended up well at the school they ended up going to.
Very cool. So when you're looking for these high school players, are you looking for at their physical structure too, like how big they are, how heavy they are, how well developed they are? Because I know some of these boys are going into junior college to get some more of that size and experience in college. What what are you looking for in that high school player specifically physically?
I think on the mound, I definitely like our bigger guys. Like I I like to get some bigger pitchers that kind of pass the eye test. I just think it's easier for them to add some velocity. Now, not all the time. I'm definitely one, and I've at the D1, D2 level, the stops I was at prior, I was definitely the guy that would try to take some risks on some shorter pitchers. Because I just think like if you can get some like a 5'9" guy that can really pitch the ball and it is mid upper 80s, like that guy can win at every level. So we'll still look at that, but big physical pitchers like arm being on time. I like to recruit guys I know I can help. So if I don't think I can help that guy and I don't think I can develop him, we're gonna pass. Like I like to have a straight line of development in a perfect world where I recruit guys I know I can help and I know I can get better. Um, it doesn't work out all the time because every coach is gonna miss and I'll miss too. But for the most part, like I feel like I've done a decent job of knowing who I can get better and know who's gonna add velo on the mound and also stay healthy is the biggest thing.
Those are all awesome points, Coach. And one of the things I kind of picked out of there is, and I wanted to ask you more about, is when you're looking at these guys and you're saying you can project their development, are you looking at their mechanics or their mentality? A little bit of both?
I think the mentality kind of comes out when you go to watch them play in a game. I think that's tough to see in a showcase setting. I think it's tough to see in a prospect camp, but I think when you go to watch a kid play in a game, a high school game even too, like I love getting out and watching high school baseball. Like watch them play baseball where they're playing a rival and you got students and guys on the other team yelling at you. Like how do you compose yourself? Uh, how do you treat umpires? Like do you point blame? Like what does that look like? Um, yeah, I like to figure out the mentality piece there, and then the stuff and the ability side, like the the mechanics can tell you a lot. Like there's definitely a few big checkpoints like we look for in pitchers to say he does X, Y, and Z. There's a better chance than the next kid that he's gonna project well. At least our recipe that we've kind of developed. I think if the arm is on time, they spin a hard breaking ball, they drift well on the mound, like there's a good chance that guy's gonna at least throw harder. I think something that we look a lot for too is the ability to throw strikes. I think being able to throw strikes is really hard to teach. It, I would rather just recruit a kid that already possesses that ability and teach him how to get to the edges a little bit and maybe put him through a program that like might add a couple ticks on the fastball. But like a guy that throws strikes is really valuable here, especially at the D3 level.
Yeah, I love that kind of you. It sounds like you put a little more emphasis over accuracy over speed.
Yeah, I mean, I like a blend of both for sure. I don't know how many 75-mile-an-hour righties we're going to recruit here. Truthfully, the game is just it's too good right now. Like again, like going back to the beginning, like we got put together in September and we ended up with what we believe to be a really strong class. And a lot of the pitchers we have are at least 80 miles an hour, and I think it's a good benchmark to reach for as a person looking to play Division 3 baseball. I mean, there's going to be people that might tell me otherwise, but I'd say the consensus up here with like the really good programs, a lot of their arms are coming in at least 80 miles an hour, and the really good ones, they're getting those mid to upper 80s guys.
But I love that. I love that. And what I want to do is take it backwards a little bit. So if we've got a freshman going into high school and he wants to be a pitcher and he knows already he wants to pitch at the college level, what are your recommendations? Because I know when I played, I went to high school, I played high school ball, I trained on my own. Outside of that, that was it. Now we got travel ball and clubs and specific pitching coaches and all of this. What are your recommendations for a freshman coming into high school who wants to be a pitcher at the collegiate level, maybe even at your school or at in your division? What do you recommend that freshman what do you recommend he does for development over the next 4 years?
I mean, I'm still a believer in playing multiple positions. I think like the guys super early on, like if you get those like top percentage pitchers that are going into high school, like you're a freshman and you're already like projecting out to be like a power four type arm, then like I'd say like that's okay to like start like specializing. But those are like, the few percentage guys. I think playing multiple positions is a really valuable thing. I think you learn a lot about your body and how to organize your body, swinging the bat, playing shortstop, playing the outfield. So I definitely encourage it. You see a lot now of like pitchers playing athletic catch. Like that's a pretty big trend right now. And I love it. And I think that you're basically doing that. If you play multiple positions, your whole high school career. And the only reason you start doing it when you become a PO in college is because you stop doing it from high school to college. So I think keeping the athlete athletic for as long as you can is a good thing. Like I don't really like putting guys in a box super young. There's some that do it that end up really good, and that's great. But generally speaking, I'd prefer a guy that does plays multiple positions at least in high school.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's kind of like when you said when you went to New Hampshire and you were looking for a way to contribute to the team. If you're a more well-developed overall athlete, maybe even playing another sports. Because I remember when I was in high school, a lot of our outfielders weren't required, but they did run track. I wasn't an outfielder, so I didn't know exactly what that dynamic was, but they all ran track. And um, it seemed to help them a lot. I mean, they were all super
Mhm.
fast, could cover ground, and had very good technique. What are your thoughts on that? And is that kind of where you're going with this, developing the overall athlete?
Yeah, I just think it's the best way to figure out who you are as an athlete. And, we're still going to recruit the guys that are POs in high school and they come here and they know they're going to be POs. Like, don't get me wrong. And we have plenty of them coming in that I'm super excited about. And we have guys on the team now I'm super excited about that are just pitchers. But I just think if I'm a high school kid, I think that there's a lot to learn playing other sports too, kind of what you're saying. I think, like the track, the basketball, hockey, football, whatever it may be, I think it does help you in your development. Um, a lot of the times, like, your shortstop, even at this level, I bet you if we put a shortstop on the mound, he's probably going to throw strikes and probably be all right throwing a breaking ball. Like, I think there's a lot to be said about learning how to throw from other positions, learn how to organize your body, like I said. Multiple positions, multiple sports. I don't think it's ever really going to hurt you.
Cool. Very cool. So, as we're sort of on the backside of this interview, Coach, tell us a little bit more about Dean College and what you're doing, what you're looking for in a student as well as the athlete.
Yeah, so Dean College is a small private school right outside of Boston, like I mentioned. The commuter line that takes you right into downtown Boston comes straight into campus. So you're about a 40-minute train ride straight into the city. Close by to Providence, Rhode Island, about 30 minutes away from there. The school itself, it's a small school, like we're right around 1,000 kids. Um, have indoor cages, a varsity weight room, a turf multi-purpose field we'll use for practice, and we have our own baseball field with cages out at the field as well. Um, we got just about every major outside of STEM, I would say, like those STEM related majors. Like we don't have engineering or anything like that. Um, I think what we're looking for here are guys that do a good job in the classroom because if you do a good job in the classroom, like those habits more often than not carry over to the college level and it'll never be an issue. Um, I also believe that the higher GPA guys out of high school, they're going to get way more money off. Like we are a private school, so it is going to be expensive to come here. So don't really waste our time with guys that have poor grades because unless they come from a ton of money, they're just going to pay a lot to go here. So I'd like to spend my time with the guys that are good in the classroom, good on the baseball field. I think if you're good at both of those things, chances are you're going to be a kid to have success here. And we're going to spend a lot more time on baseball than anything and developing the person. The less time you have to worry and we have to worry about how you're doing in the classroom, the better because I think in a perfect world every kid wants to go to college to play baseball and get a degree and the more time they can be out on the field is probably going to make them happier. So I'd like to be able to do that with them.
Yeah, and that's a good point because a lot of these kids think that they can just go to these schools based on their athletic ability. And I go and I talk to these freshmen, these incoming freshmen a lot, and I say, look, right now you're a young kid. You maybe don't know what you're trying to do. You love baseball. If you have any idea that you want to play baseball at the next level or you want to do something and produce value and have a good life, you should probably focus in a little bit on your grades in those study habits, because if you create those good study habits in the classroom, what I found is you create good study habits on the field and at home in regards to development, because a lot of that player development, especially at those younger ages, happens at home. It happens outside of practice. It happens outside of the games, because as coaches at that level, it's tough to, if we have 186 kids coming out for our four levels at the high school I coach at, it's very tough for us to give a lot of individual development. It has to be group stuff. And then you have to go home and you have to work on your things individually. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of time. Like we do I stole this from Coach Barisi. We do a practice subject every single day. So like we'll go into practice and we'll have like just it'll just be a quote or something. And the quote yesterday was talking about the difference in hours that a college freshman right now has built up in practice time compared to the college senior and the hours that they're going to graduate with playing the game. And it's the difference of nearly 1,000 hours. So talking about playing catch up with that, and like you need to put in like time off the field, and if you don't take care of your business in the classroom, you're not going to be able to put in that time to play catch up because you're going to be in the library or study hall having to take care of business in the classroom. So the guys that get it done in the classroom, it's one less thing you have to worry about, and it's also compared to the next guy, like they're going to be able to be in the cages while you're worrying about meeting with professors and all that stuff. So it those habits just transfer over everywhere in life. Like I've said to every single kid I tour, like I want guys that are good at everything they do. I want them good in the community, good in the classroom, good on the baseball field. And if you do at least two of those three things, good in the community, good in the classroom, like you're here because there's something that makes you a good baseball player. And we bet on you for some reason. So I think those habits really trickle and carry over into a lot of areas of life, including the baseball field.
I love it. I love it. And we at Pack Baseball and Softball Academy, obviously we deal with softball and we deal with baseball. And there's a very different dynamic when it comes to leaving home and how far you travel. Can you talk a little bit more about the community that your school is in, how that looks for a new kid coming in? Because you're talking about a 17, 18-year-old who's going to be away from home for the first time,
Mhm.
usually.
Yeah, I mean, Franklin, Mass is typically ranked top five as one of the safest cities in the whole country. So we are going to be a team that's built on Northeast guys primarily, but we have players coming in from California, Florida, and a little bit outside of the New England region, being Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. I think we're extremely comfortable for a parent to send their kid away to college, knowing they're going to be in one of the safest cities in America. So on top of that, Franklin, Mass, like it is has a very, very strong sports tradition at the high school level. So the baseball program at Franklin High is one of the best, if not the best, in Massachusetts. The football, hockey, every sport at that school, like they really have it going. It's a community that's willing to support, and I think that Dean College is nestled right in the middle of it. And my hope is to make Dean College more of a part of Franklin. Like that's really one of my biggest hopes. Like I want little kids to come to the games and see their hometown college and see them do good things on the field and just achieve at a high level. But the city of Franklin, it has tons of shops, tons of restaurants, every grocery store you could imagine, all in walking distance right around the school. Um, it's nestled like right in the middle of Franklin, where you walk a couple blocks off campus, you're in downtown on every which direction. There's always just we're in the middle of like a neighborhood almost too, so you have a lot of residential housing, a lot of old money around the school, so it's really really pretty neighborhood, super safe, very comfortable is the word that I always come back to when it comes time to send your kids away for college.
Oh, that's cool. And that's saying something. That's really something that these parents are looking at. So In talking about that, when you have a freshman coming in, what is orientation? What is when they first get to the school? How does that first month or so look for a new freshman coming in?
Yeah, I mean, we'll give them the first week or two to just get used to their class schedules. But during that, like, I like to just touch base with them, and keep my office doors always open. Like, I always have guys popping in and out to say hi, and I think that's important, especially with the bigger class we have coming next year. Just like the comfortability and like introducing them to one another. It's really important that they have like that consistency of like baseball in their life, and the couple weeks where it's just school and making sure they're feeling at home and getting to know one another. Then we'll get going with uh, our practice schedule. Like, we'll practice. We're allowed 24 at the D3 level, so we'll practice 4 times a week throughout the fall. Um, 2 practices during the week, 2 on the weekend. Go live on the weekend days during the week. That's the 2 weekdays is when we really get into the individualized like player development stuff. So like we might work on building the swing, like training rotation with our hitters. Like maybe it's the pitchers we're working on, holding runners, pickoffs, like knowing why and how we call pitches when we call pitches. So we really try to train the individual the best we can during the weekdays, and then on the weekend we just go play baseball. Um, at the end of the fall, we get into leadership meetings. So we'll meet weekly, bi-weekly, and we'll talk about various things, like whether it's team identity, like who you are, who you want to be, teach them like life skills. I've heard this on a couple different podcasts before, but I like the idea of like, I heard one, they taught them how to file their taxes or how to tie a tie, like just stuff like that, that like just to see face with them. I know that it can't do it. The game of baseball is kind of the rule with the leadership meeting. So I still think there's value in getting the guys together and teaching them life skills, because I don't think it stops just at the baseball field. And that's my goal, is to just develop them as people as well, and try to give them as much as we possibly can, within the rules.
I love that. I love that. And you talked a little bit about this. I love the idea of having the leadership meetings. That's great. And you talked a little bit about that. Do you address not just on field the field goals, but off field goals as well with these kids coming in?
Off the field goals. So I mean, I guess I'd put like team GPA and that sort of thing in there. So we just had our highest team GPA in almost 5 years, I believe. Um, and that was with the team we showed up with, like in the fall. Like I think setting the standards there was really important, and just letting them know like this is going to be a priority for me. So because of that, it needs to be a priority for you. Um, and I think just the standards on the field, like I said, they trickle down into off the field. Like it doesn't change, because how you do anything is how you do everything, and that's something we talk about a lot. Um, but the off the field standards, like we want to be involved in the community, like we want to do like fundraisers within the community. Um, we have a team impact player on our team, and one of the first things they asked when I got hired is if Nate's still going to be here, and I was like, yeah, like I mean, I haven't met him yet, but you guys are all really excited to have him, and sure enough, I met him, and he's awesome, and he's a part of our team, so we've been involved with team impact, and it's been great here. He's a great kid, it's a great family, and um, we try to fill their buckets, so to speak, and like give them opportunities to be involved in the community. And I think that's more on my shoulders than anything else. Like we could easily not do that, but to me, it's important. Like you have a platform of, 40 something guys and coaches, and the backing of a school. So I think it's a really great opportunity to use that to our advantage rather than just focus on baseball.
That's awesome. I love that. And we're kind of nearing the end here, so I want to ask you, can you share with our community one story of impact or sharing or community service? Well, one story, one kid that sticks with you that really makes your coaching experience worth it, because it's a lot of work to be a coach at the college level.
Yeah, that's a good question. I can give you a good story of like a just probably one of the cooler things that's happened in my career. So 20 2024 we were at Southern New Hampshire, and we had three catchers on our team, and we were in a super regional, and two of them ended up getting hurt. One of them got hit in the eye, like that was going to be our starting catcher that weekend. One of them slid into a bag and like tore his labrum or something like that. So we had our third string catcher who hadn't really played a whole lot. He had an awesome attitude the whole time, and really good defender. Hadn't really been having his way at the plate that year, and it was one out in the ninth inning, and the kid gets up in a super regional and hits a game tying home run, and sends the game to extras, and then we end up walking it off. And talking about practice subjects, like he was my practice subject a few weeks ago, and I texted him and let him know that I was going to tell that story, and he he was he was grateful, and he thought it was funny. I was going to explain to them what a random kid's name was for the subject, but it was a really good story. It's just one of those times where like you always ask kids to be ready when your name's called, and that's something that's a lot easier said than done. Um, and that was a great example of a kid that was just truly ready when his name got called. And I guess like one other thing I definitely got to mention is something I learned the most about myself, I guess, in my career. And it's a moment I'll never forget is getting out of pro ball and having worked in the facility sector as well a little prior. And I show up to Keene State, and Coach Blood asked me like, so what do you do to like when you work with pitchers? And I gave him a really long answer of, well, I'm going to send him through this full body assessment. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And like his response was something to the effect of like, why don't we just go play catch? And that like really, that was a building block for me in my career, is like learning how to keep things simple and getting high level results is the biggest thing I learned from him. Um, and it doesn't always have to be complex. Like we talked about staying in the ground and spinning the baseball. And that was a really, really formative conversation for me. And if I didn't have that conversation, I, I think I would have spun my tires a lot more than not and wasted a lot of time on things that work in an ideal indoor setting that don't actually work on the baseball field and somebody's keeping score. Um, and it was a moment I'll never forget. And it definitely started to build um, the rabbit holes I went down and learn how to develop guys and get really efficient development.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. And that's a great realization. I spent the last 26 years coaching, and I always thought you got to be up on the new technology, you got and the new advances and all this new stuff and all this. And the more information you have, the better. And what it comes down to on the field is actually the more stuff you take away and the simpler you make it, the
Mm-hmm.
faster the players develop and the more success they have. And it seems kind of backwards. And I'm not sure that I would be as good of a coach as I am if I hadn't gone through all that. But the realization that you just brought up is, it the simpler you can make it, the easier the learning process, the more success.
For sure, for sure.
And that's such a great valuable lesson that I've learned, you've learned, and for young coaches listening to this, pay attention. That's like a Yoda thing, right? I mean, that is the one of the biggest things you could ever take away is the more you can simplify something, you have to have a good understanding of it, because without that understanding, you can't simplify it. But once you can simplify it, man, progress just happens in leaps and bounds.
Definitely, definitely.
All right, coach. Well, that about wraps it up for this session. I want to leave it open to you. If somebody is looking to possibly go to Dean College and play for you, they like what you said here. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best route for them?
Yeah, definitely. My email's right on the website, tfitzgerald@dean.edu, or you can follow our socials. Mine is just my name, or Go Dean Baseball is our Twitter handle for the Dean Baseball program.
Nice. And do you have what's your Instagram for the team? Is it just Dean Baseball?
It's Dean Baseball. Yep, it's Dean Baseball. We're pretty, I'd say Twitter is probably the one we're most active on. All of our coaches can be found there. They're right on our website. Their Twitter handle is just search their name, they'll come up. But we're all super responsive on there as well as email.
Perfect. And just to repeat, it was deanbaseball.edu is the website.
So my email is stfitzgerald@dean.edu, and our Twitter handle is GoDeanBaseball. Both of them can be found by just searching Dean Baseball, though.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Coach. And I'll let you leave it this segment with this. What is the one piece of advice you can give a travel ball coach or a high school coach who wants to come to college or make his way, thinks that's the next level in his development? What's the one piece of advice you'd like to give them?
I think you just really got to love the game, and you got to love developing guys and being super competitive. It was like three pieces of advice, but you gotta be competitive. You gotta love the game, and you gotta love to get guys better. Like if you do those three things, I think it's an awesome and super rewarding field, much like your field as well, and travel ball. And I think there's a piece in this game for everybody that wants to do those.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to leave it there today, Coach. Thanks for your time and good luck this season.